You're listening to the LouddMouth Radio Network.
Man, guys, you already know we're coming off of a busy Valentine's Day weekend. Well, I say we, because I don't know what your weekend was like, but mine was very, very busy. Let me say that correctively. I definitely am feeling like I'm re-establishing my feet this morning as Monday has started. And I wanted to have this imperative conversation because I think that coming off of two weekends, consecutive weekends of activity, one Super Bowl weekend, Super Bowl Sunday as they say, and we went from Super Bowl Sunday right into Valentine's Day weekend, as well as All-Star break happened this past weekend, which I had really a whole lot of missed aspects because I've been so busy from having the show that I had on Valentine's night, which was an incredible show, an amazing show, amazing turnout. And I also had an opportunity to make note of some of the things that took place in regards to Super Bowl Sunday, the halftime show. A lot of controversial comments, of course, and conversations have been had from that point and going forward. Even for myself, I've had to navigate quite a few things and still, of course, navigating quite a few things every day. And I had a valuable insight, and I will say that it also kind of pivots into a lesson that I want to kind of speak on and share with you guys today about not confusing influence with admiration. And this kind of gives an aspect of thought that I hope will save you from having high expectations of sometimes people, because the one thing that we all have to remember is that we're all living in our human condition. We're all navigating our lives. We're all walking in our own paths, and we're all doing things, and sometimes we coincide into one another's pathways. And in that connection, it's important to stay grounded and kind of have a understanding or a scope of clarity to where you're not finding yourself having one level of thought about somebody or something when it could easily be something else. And in that, sometimes there's tolerance that allows the interactions. And sometimes there's the possibility that some people may respond to you differently because of how and why you interact. But the biggest part about it is knowing the difference and not being confused about influence and admiration. Guys, y'all know what time it is. It's Monday, and it's time for Sonny's Monday Motivation. Let's go. Welcome to LouddMouth Radio Network. My name is Sonny. As a former professional athlete turned entrepreneur realtor and the producer of LouddMouth Radio Network, I look forward to bringing content to you that empowers, inspires, and entertains you. Tune in each week as we have unscripted and unfiltered talks from entrepreneurship, real estate, politics, entertainment, comedy, LGBTQ topics, day-to-day life, and everything in between. All shows available on demand 24/7 on your favorite podcast platforms.
Portals Entertainment Center is a new 13,000 square foot entertainment experience now open in Temecula. Portals creates a space where your imagination can be set free. Step into an immersive entertainment center that will take visitors into one of our many attractions, which include 2 9-hole indoor mini golf courses, an immersive laser tag arena, a designated arcade space, a food service component, party and event spaces, and a hidden 21 and over lounge. Portals aims to give each visitor a unique experience, taking them to unknown worlds and experiencing an entertainment center like no other. Open 7 days a week, located at 26469 Inez Road in Temecula, California, in between At Home and Temecula Theaters. Come check us out and step into adventure.
Here at IQ Facility Management Services, we provide commercial and residential cleaning service. We service single-family homes, multi-family homes, schools, office buildings, churches, interior and exterior areas. We give attention to detail in window cleaning, carpet, tile, flooring, or VCT flooring. We proudly service the Southern California greater area of LA and Orange County, Inland Empire, and Northern California. Contact us at 562-334-2448 for your cleaning service needs.
All right, guys, I hope we're ready for this conversation because I think it's a very important one. And I'm going to start by giving you a little insight about the topic today and why I chose to kind of to iron in on this. The Drake and Kendrick Lamar situation during the Super Bowl halftime show, you know, there was a lot of conversation that was being had in regards to Kendrick and the subliminal messages that were carried out throughout that entire performance, which he did an amazing job communicating and translating and creating, right? And it also brought light to the factor that even at that level, in that status as artists, Kendrick and Drake both are there within their own rights superstars. But even at that level, it's the possibility that you could be confusing influence with admiration is very real. And unfortunately, I think that for Drake, he's witnessing that in real time. We're all witnessing it in real time. And this is not to throw shade at either one of them, but I think that it gives a great example of just because of your financial position, your quote unquote stardom, does not exempt you from the reality of how people may feel or interact or move with you. If anything, it puts you on a bigger scale, puts you on a bigger stage to where not only you, but the world can see what's going on in the hemisphere of this type of situation. And when you have something of this level being examined or exposed, can you only imagine what the lower hanging fruit is dealing with? Let's get into it. I want to kind of say this in the beginning that don't confuse influence with admiration, because it's going to save you from having a lot of high expectations. I think that's one of the things that sometimes as people we get caught up in. We'll have expectations of people because our relationships or interactions with them or you know, just different reasons. But it doesn't guarantee that is going to give you a certain level of responsiveness. And, you know, I'm at a point that I feel like, and I was having this conversation yesterday with my comedic host, Kevin Davis. I was like, man, I think it's important to have respect, especially in the industries that you're working in. And if you have respect, you know, the other things can come outside of that after the fact. But you want to at least be able to have a respect level of who you are and how you're moving. And if you can maintain credibility of how you deal with people, if you can maintain a respect level of how you treat people, eventually it'll kind of circumference you. It'll give you a stance and an essence that can carry you, you know, for great distances. So can you imagine probably not being Drake in this situation, but even as an individual that's maybe not at that level, you want to feel like when you're talking to somebody or doing business or doing some type of interaction with someone that they have an understanding of where you're coming from, right? Now, if your influence of how you are within whatever career or social circle you're in carries some weight, then you may have some people that engage with you more than just the average person. And sometimes you can have people come out of that having a level of admiration for you because they get to see a little bit more about who you are or interact with you in a way. But that does not mean automatically that your influence comes with admiration or tolerance. It could be one or the other or not at all. Drake, prime example. Huge streaming numbers. I believe he was one of the top selling streamers. The not selling, but he was the top height of streamers of music streamed this year. And we're just in February. But I want to say he already had billions and billions of downloads that he was already experiencing. Sold out concerts. And when this beef started, I know that it accelerated both of their careers. It increased the music playback. It increased the conversations. It increased the animosity in the beef. It just kept fueling it. The one thing that Drake probably also thought was that his huge streaming numbers and concerts meant that the industry was all in and was riding with him when this beef started. But it seems like he's starting to really see the hard part of where this actual lies. Outside of the numbers he's accumulated, the ticket sales, it seems like not many of the core industry people that he thought was riding with him really had that kind of genuine, deep admiration for him. And I know that's got to be tough for him. But the reality is there's a huge difference between influence and admiration for him. Now, outside of sponsorships, media attention, of course, with Kendrick Lamar doing halftime, the visibility for him we're talking about a world stage. So even if people were, in this bubble and did not know what was going on between Kendrick and Drake, they got an opportunity to see the high level of skill that Drake implemented and his creativity to pull off his performance. Now, the one thing that I think is going to come out of that is there's obviously some differences of opinion. There's obviously some differences of thought. Now, I don't know what may happen in the future between these two fellas, but I just want to shift real quick. Let's just talk about genuine people in a situation like this. We're in the beginning of the year, and as we're navigating our year, it's something that I want to make sure that we understand as people, that there is a distinct difference between influence and admiration. And a lot of times, you walk into different rooms, it helps you to understand what the energy in the room could look like for you. You ever walked into a space and felt like it was warm and the people in the room was, electric, and they just interacted and felt good, and they seemed warm to see you and they were happy to see you, versus walking in a room where people are cold, they're not really responsive to you, they're not giving you any attention, they're not even reacting to the fact that you may be engaged in a conversation. Two totally different feelings, two totally different airs. So when you start to really understand the difference between influence and admiration and tolerance, I think tolerance is another key word that holds weight, because sometimes a person will tolerate you and they'll give you toleration not because they have admiration and not because necessarily of your influence. It could just be a number of different reasons. It could be their job to tolerate you. Okay? Even in some of our friendships, there's times that we may tolerate our friend in areas that we normally wouldn't, but we're giving grace because we have some type of bond somewhere, right? Our influence can open opportunities for us to where people may not necessarily know us personally, but because of what has superseded you, what may be beyond the scope of what they've had in connection to you personally, has given this perspective of thought. And because of that influence, it may open up doors for you in another kind of way too. So it's funny that there are times when sometimes we may take this attitude that because we have excelled in a certain way or we have succeeded in one thing, that we should receive a certain type of treatment, that we should be invited into certain rooms, we should be brought to certain tables, we should be given certain opportunities. And that's kind of that deep dive into ego, and it can really put you in a space that can spin you out and unfortunately kind of kick back and give you the real truth of reality, like Drake. is experiencing right now, that is not as what you seem or what you think it is. And I think that the more we understand that sometimes tolerance, admiration, and influence have their own places in time, then you'll have a better ability to be grounded. And when you walk into spaces, or it'll help you to make decisions to go where you're invited. It also will help you to understand where and when to involve yourself in certain things. I also feel like it'll help you to understand that people at that point can better understand and recognize your value. But if you allow yourself to be pulled or dragged, or you jump into something boastfully, or you come, without a humble attitude in regards to certain approaches, it can make you spiral real fast. Now, a lot of times people say, hey, if they don't invite you to the table, you bring a folding chair. But sometimes you need to take that same chair to spaces where you genuinely are loved, or genuinely wanted, genuinely are invited, and not just tolerated. I have had my own experiences of this exact conversation that I'm giving you guys, where I can tell that there's been moments where I've been tolerated. I can tell when there's moments that my influence in some kind of way open up opportunities. I've also seen when there's been times where just out of some level of admiration, I have been given grace. But at the end of the day, you don't want to put yourself in a position to totally just run into something and bulldoze it over. Sometimes people say, well, I'll bust in the room, or I'll kick down the door. Let's think about that. If you're in your own home and somebody came and kicked down your door, how would you feel about that? Would you then invite them to have breakfast with you in your table, at your dining room table, and they just kicked in your door to your house? Would you give them a ride in your car if they just kicked the trunk of your car? Right? So sometimes we don't necessarily look at our own behaviors. We don't look at the way we may be moving amongst other people and how we make other people feel. But I think if we look at ourselves and recognize that sometimes a decision or something like that to not invite you into the space may not have anything to do with you per se. It may be that timing. It may be a limitation of ability. There may not be the right mixture, because there's, how you have different, I'll say, friend groups. You have some people that have certain things about them, and you could bring them in a space with other people who could connect with them and they would be okay. But then you got some of those others that you already know, like, yeah, I can't mix you in with certain people because it could be some hangups that they possess. It could be some things that their viewpoint may not align with others. They may be hell bent on one aspect that is not going to seamlessly connect with somebody else. And because of that, you kind of keep them in a separate cell group. We'll just say that, right? So sometimes you have to recognize that there are times where you're not going to be able to do certain things, or maybe it's best that you don't. Maybe it's best that you don't take the attitude of thinking that you have a right to this or a right to that. Sometimes you just have to go and focus on you, do what you need to do. And I'm not saying not be prepared or not look for opportunities, but the better prepared you are for certain things, more opportunities can arise for you when it's time for you to be able to enter into that space. And then two, not being subjective. I think that, I've done this. I've subjected myself to situations or people or things, and it was not a healthy space for me to be, right? Because I was so hell-bent on doing something, or I was so focused in on achieving a certain level of something. And in that, do you want to burn people on your way into the situation? Do you want to piss people off to the point that they don't want to deal with you? And then now they're only dealing with you at a level of toleration. That does not feel good to anybody. The one thing I think is important too is recognizing sometimes when you need to take a step back, you might need to evaluate. You also may need to look and see if what you have going on with whatever you're trying to do can coincide and align with maybe the opportunities that you're approaching. Once you decide that you know the difference and you understand the difference as it pertains to you, and not confusing influence with admiration and or tolerance, I believe that it'll set you free in so many ways that you may not even be aware of. Now, if you do not put yourself in a position to be able to elevate beyond because you know how sometimes people would think that you shouldn't break this ceiling, like this is your level, you shouldn't go beyond that. Oh, I'm sure that there's been some thoughts of people's aspects of us, right, of others. But what is your decision? What is your height? What is your desire? And if you focus and keying in on that, that will allow you to determine how you move, right? And then I think it also gives you a knowledge-based ability to recognize, like I said earlier, what rooms to walk into, the energy in the room. Because sometimes it's not for you to speak. Sometimes you're there to soak it in. Sometimes you're there to be introduced versus breaking into the space and busting loose, right? But guys, I wanted to just kind of touch on that because I feel like this is something that happens a lot on various levels. I know I started out talking about Kendrick Lamar and Drake, but they were just such a prime example of how even at that level, you can make a mistake not having a humbled attitude about certain things. You can make a grave error in judgment if you're not paying attention, right? And I think it's just important to be a totally well-rounded person. If you can and strengthen the areas in which you move in your life and different people in different areas and how you're doing and interacting with people, what you're doing in your business or your personal social lives, I think that you'll find yourself in a better situation than walking into something that you really wasn't prepared to experience, or you could damage, some aspects of what you've accomplished, what you're aiming for. And there's nothing wrong with pulling back. There's nothing wrong with making, maybe you need to make a turn left instead of a turn right, or maybe you just need to sit still or pull it back. Only you know that. But I think it's important to have our, as they say, your spidey senses. Have your senses about things. Usually, that's why if you have 5 senses and you have full use of it, your sight, your hearing, your taste, your smell, and your touch, all of those things have magnificent value. And if you're paying attention to those things and the circumference around you, I believe that it will give you a clear path of understanding of how you stand or where you are in the world. And you make the decision if you're okay with where you are, if you want to elevate, if you want to stagnate, if you want to shift left or right, or sometimes you just want to sit still. And I believe that it's all good. And it's only for you to know what that looks like. And it's only for you to determine whether or not you deep dive into something more or greater. And be okay with it. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen. I hope that you're having a wonderful Monday. We're 3 weeks into February now. This is, as they say, a short month. We have roughly 11 days left already of this month. So I'm just going to invite you to do whatever's going to make you purposeful. That's going to put you in the right space and time. And remember, don't confuse influence with admiration. All right, y'all. Peace.
You're listening to the LouddMouth Radio Network.
Here at Wonderland Learning Center, we're located at 288 East Main Street in San Jacinto. We provide a safe and secure learning environment. We are now enrolling 2 to 5-year-olds with our preschool curriculum. We offer before and after school care. Breakfast, lunch, and snacks are provided. We accept all programs. We are open Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Our website is wonderlandlearningcenter.com.
Performing comedy is like creating magic. To hear the room explode with laughter is priceless. And to produce comedy is like having a glass of Stella Rosa, the ability to have others wind down with laughter. With LouddMouth Comedy, it isn't just about me, Sonny. It's also the many hardworking comedians that are dedicated to writing and performing night after night, stage after stage, displaying their talents to the world, and we all do it for the love of comedy. Sometimes you have to remember to relax and savor the moment one sip at a time. Cheers. Here's to 13 years of LouddMouth Comedy. Save the date, April 1st through the 6th, 2025. Save the date, April 1st through the 6th, 2025. Sonny's LouddMouth Comedy presents For the Love of Comedy Spring Comedy Festival is happening right in the Temecula Valley area. We're talking about 6 days, over 10 plus shows, over 30 plus comedians. Woo, I need you to be prepared and be ready. So guess what? I need you to bookmark this website, LouddMouthComedyFestival.com. This is with a comedy lineup, all the announcements, schedule, all the great things that's going on, from networking events, cocktail kickoff, multiple comedy shows. Even we'll have something for the family. I cannot wait for you guys to participate. So I need you to make sure you mark the dates, April 1st through the 6th. Hold the website, LouddMouthComedyFestival.com. And be prepared. More announcements coming soon. All right, y'all. Ciao.
Hello, my name is Takasha Smith. I'm the owner of Takasha's Kitchen, based out of Menifee in the Southern California area. As a chef and caterer, I provide private cooking classes, couples dinners, and private parties. As a female pitmaster, I am able to create a personalized experience for your family reunion gatherings. I create menus based on my clients' needs to have a more personal vibe. You can find Takasha's Kitchen on all social media networks such as Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and my YouTube channel at Takasha's Kitchen. And that's spelled TACASHAS Kitchen, KITCHEN.
You're listening to the LouddMouth Radio Network.